We're joined by Tom Fitton. He, of course, the grand poobah of Judicial Watch. Tom, I didn't see you, but I saw your team there over at Media Road doing some great work with Judicial Watch. I sat with them and gave an interview, so people can find that over at judicialwatch.org and on the social media platforms. But, wow, what a weekend it was over there at CPAC, Tom.
Yeah, and then you had, of course, it's not even CPAC these days. You got to track Twitter to find out what's going on in the government. But what did you two do last week to advance the country?
Oh,
I want 5 bullet points.
You know, it's funny. We haven't talked about it yet, but just so you know, if upper management here at Cumulus asked me for 5 bullet points about what I accomplished, I would deliver 10.
Yes.
And I would elaborate about how awesome I am, how I'm indispensable, how they couldn't do without me, and in fact, they should give me a promotion and a raise. And I also, by the way, add 10 more bullet points about the people who are dragging me down around here. And if they actually fired them, we'd be much more efficient.
Tom, could you never ask that again?
That might have the opposite effect as intended, Larry.
I guess that's probably true. But what do you think of the uproar over all the, and honestly, I haven't heard it as much from federal employees as I hear from elected officials, Democrats, media personalities that think that what is standard fare here is just absolutely unacceptable and outrageous for the civil servants.
Yeah, to me, it's and Musk has highlighted it, the president has highlighted, this is about whether the people get to run the government as opposed to the government being this entity that has no accountability. And I know that word political control is not something people like to hear, but that's the essence to our Republican form of government. Will we have political control of the bureaucracy and the administrative state in the sense that the person voted for by the entire electorate, President Trump, is able to exert control over the people that work for him? And if not, then do we have a constitutional republic or, quote, as the left says, a democracy, unquote?
Tom, don't you also believe that this is sort of an effort to help morale? There's a lot of people in these agencies who have been quietly sitting there doing their work and having to sort of endure the politicization of their agencies, and or maybe, having to work for people who have brought politics into the agency. Don't you think that this goes a long way? I've seen on Twitter people saying morale's better at the FBI and other places. Don't you think this will go a long way to reassure people they're serious and they want action out of these agencies, not just more politics?
Yeah, there are two issues: what the agencies do and how many people it takes to get it done. Musk is focused easily on the second part because it's obviously overstaffed in these government agencies. There isn't a government official, many of whom should have their jobs ended, who won't tell you what Larry would tell his bosses: oh, you got to get rid of all these other people. So everyone who works in government knows government has too many people working for them. Then the bigger question in many ways is, what should the government be doing? And that's where you talk about the ending of USAID, the ending of CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Board. It doesn't protect consumers at all. It advances the left. The ending of the Department of Education. Frankly, I would be looking for anything outside the Justice Department, State, and Treasury. That all should be on the table.
Yeah. All those.
Oh, wait, excuse me. Not the Justice Department, Defense Department. I think Justice Department can be severely curtailed.
We're speaking with Judicial Watch's Tom Fitton. And Tom, are you setting up a whole unit to now FOIA all the emails from USAID and from USCS, the other one, the Consumer Fraud Bureau, because it's got to be a treasure trove of things that you can get. I mean, we're just learning about this one EPA grant for Stacey Abrams' group, $2 billion. Lee Zeldin said that he's seen documentation that says that they were told to, try to funnel all the money out in the first 21 days before Trump was sworn in. I mean, this is absolute fraud going on here.
Well, the wonderful thing about Judicial Watch is none of this is new to us in the sense that we've been in court and against these agencies for, frankly, decades. Right now, the USAID is refusing to tell us who they're giving money to in Gaza. Literally.
Yes.
We don't want anyone to know because, we don't want them to be anyone to be upset with them.
Yeah.
So even though Trump is running those agencies, you still have this bureaucratic echo.
Yeah.
In terms of being opposed to transparency and such. So we're already on. We've been on it,
Yeah.
and we will simply, do more and better as we always endeavor to do in terms of holding them accountable. And with this new administration, we hope there's a radical commitment to transparency to get all this info out. And the FBI, they've got Kash Patel and now Dan Bongino.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, if those two are in charge, I got to think transparency is going to be job one. What is your reaction to first Kash Patel being sworn in, but now Dan Bongino, our colleague here on WMAL, being named deputy director?
I mean, it's like bomb one and bomb two if you're the bad guys. And they know that the problem for the left is Kash and Dan know what happened and knew who likely is responsible and knows enough about the bureaucracy. They both have worked with the bureaucracies to know how they've been set up in a way to encourage this. I tell you, the big question for me, if I were Kash, is should I be the last FBI director or not?
Really?
Meaning, can this agency be redeemed? And if anyone can do it, maybe Kash can, and maybe with Dan's help. But, forgive me for being cautiously optimistic, or I've heard recently, nauseously optimistic about how the FBI is going to be handled.
Do you think that Kash had sort of said that he was going to close down the headquarters there? Do you think that will happen? And will it happen quickly, or will that? Is there going to be a few months of sort of trying to understand what's going on?
Well, I think he's going to move a lot of people out of headquarters quickly or out of the D.C. area quickly. He's promised, and this is something that seemingly is a good idea, to get the FBI agents across the country. And he's not the first who tried to do this. Louis Freeh did it when he was first put in as FBI director. So there have been efforts at reform before. And, his big issue is we have crime all over the country. The FBI's here figuring out how they can spy on churches.
Yeah.
Talk about misplaced priorities.
Well, leadership makes a big difference. We had mentioned it earlier. Personnel is policy, and if that's the case, well, we're going to see some hell of a policy shift at the FBI with these two, the director and the deputy director there, in Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. We got to leave it there. Sadly, Tom Fitman, it's always great to talk with you. Thanks for joining us today.
Good to talk to you both. Thank you, guys.